So now that we have our smoker lit, the next step is to show you a few techniques that you're going to use throughout the year. These are the basic skills that you need to do an inspection of your hive. So the first thing to talk about is the approach to the hive. We're in a yard right now, so it's a little different, but normally I would come just like this. I'd come, assuming these hives aren't here, I'd approach the hive from behind and I'd smoke them like this. Now the reason for that is just, that way none of the guard bees watch me approach the hive. There's no alarm pheromone release before I come to the hive. Now, once we're kind of in position, you want to have your smoker that's somewhere accessible, like here, and you basically want to have your feet planted for the rest of the inspection. So most of the movement I'm going to do is just going to be pivoting from this spot. So first step is I'm going to take the inner cover off. There's some fondant on this hive. You're probably not going to see that in your hives. But I'm going to put the outer cover right here, and this is going to serve as the sort of supporting base for my second box. And so whenever you have a hive that's at 2 boxes like this, the first thing you're going to want to do, rather than opening up the inner cover and going into the top box, is you're going to want to remove it. So I'm going to shoo that dead bee out of the way. There's the important thing to know about this is once you start to separate the 2 boxes and crack the propolis seal, we don't want to bring the box up and down as we're wedging, because that's going to squish bees and agitate the hive. So what we want to do is have our hand positioned here, ready to lift the upper box, and then as we get our hive tool in, there we go, that was easy. I'm going to switch my hands without letting it drop, gently remove it, and just pivot. Okay, so now we've got our upper box off. I'm just going to give this a little bit of smoke. The kind of rule is anytime you remove a layer, you want to just give the bees a little bit of smoke. Perfect. The next thing we're going to look at is how to remove a frame. So, in this box, I actually think that the bees haven't started building in this box. So I'm actually going to go into this one over here. That means we've got a bit of a curveball with the fondant, but I'm just going to take these off. Yeah. I'm going to lay them down over here. We'll put those back on when we're done. Oh, they're really smooshed in. Okay, so to get into this box, I'm going to take off the inner cover. So again, I'm doing kind of the same thing. I'm not going to move the inner cover up and down. I'm ready to pull it as soon as I get the seal broken with the hive tool. Just move it nice and slow. And what I like to do with my inner cover, first, you always want to check for the queen. This one's pretty easy. There aren't too many bees on it. And I'm actually just going to put it on the far side here and lean it against the box. That way it's out of the way. I don't need to go on that side. We're done. I'll give these guys a bit of smoke. And then I'm just going to show you how to maneuver your hive tool between the frames to remove a frame. So, you might want to come a little bit closer. So if I'm looking down, I can see this middle frame has brood on it. And so does this one. So I think I'm going to go for this one. But normally we start with our second frame, so why don't I do that? So what you want to do is with the corner of your hive tool, you want to put it in between the first and second frame with the idea of getting the corner underneath the top bar of the second frame. So you're going to do that here, and then switch sides and do it here, and then on the other side. If you just sort of assert where you're putting your hive tool, the bees will get out of the way. And sometimes you need a little bit of extra leverage. Okay, so it's a little bit cold, so the frames don't come out quite as cleanly. Let's just squish the bee. Okay, now that I've got it loose, I'm just going to put my index finger and my thumb underneath, and I'm going to try to, they're very sticky. Alright, well if you get stuck like I am, what you can do is you can use your hive tool to help you out. So, I'm going to get a little more leverage from my hive tool like that. There we go, now it's nice and loose. And there we go. So, I'm going to pull it nice and straight. I don't want to pull it out at an angle or else I'm going to roll bees against each other. And now that I have it out, if I want to look at the far side, what I can do is kind of rest the top bar of my fingers and use my middle finger as a supporting strut on the back side. And then I'm just going to kind of roll it towards myself. And now I can see really well. If you want to be able to see right down to the bottom of the cell, you can put the sun kind of over your shoulder. And this frame, we just have some nectar. And now, when you've inspected both sides, if you want to put this frame down, you can just kind of lean it. You want to put the top of the top bar down first, and you want to make sure that it's leaning against the top bar. You don't want to lean it flat against the comb or else you're going to squish a lot of bees. So, maybe this isn't the ideal setup, but if you kind of do it like this, then you can keep organized. You can keep a pile of brood frames on this side or honey frames on this side. So yeah. Next we're going to move a little bit further in. Ooh. You can see when it gets warmer, the frames don't crack quite so much. They come apart a little easier. So now that's all I had to do to loosen up the second frame. Nice and straight, nice and square. Support my fingers to look at the far side. Okay, we got a bit of brood on this side. Some newly hatched bees. Now to look a little closer, you just want to, if you're not looking at the far side, you can tap with your fingers to make sure you're not putting them on a bee. And then you can kind of hold the frame like this to see this side. So now I've got 2 frames out. I probably don't need to take more than that. And for the purpose of this inspection, I really just wanted to see if there were eggs, and I did see eggs on this frame. So for our purposes, we're done. I'm just going to show you how to put it back together, and I think that's it. So first, you want to put the frames back in. So we kind of start in the middle of the space and we bring the frame closer. The frame in the second position is the hardest one to put back in. So we just want to do it nice and slowly and nice and straight so that the bees aren't rolling. And in our case, because it's a bit colder, I'm going to use my palms to just gently get it down. And that's it. So now I need to bring this box back on top of this one. I need to move this out of the way a little bit. And as you can see, the bees have kind of come back out of this box. So I'm going to use my smoke, and that's how I'm going to get them to go back down. And while I'm at it, I'll put my inner cover back on. So one thing you can do when you're at the end of the inspection, if you just want to get the bees off of the frame, there's a way that you can just sort of, gently shake the bees off of this inner cover. So I wouldn't do it directly into the hive. That's probably going to agitate them, but you can do it in front of the hive. And what you can do is you can either do a little shake like this. Most of them come off. You kind of want to scrape all of this stuff off as well. clean. And then when we're putting this back on, we're going to put one side down and we can see very clearly that there are no bees there. And then as we put it on, we're going to sort of do this tap. And that means that if there are any bees that are around the seam, it gives them a chance to get out of the way before they get squished. And then I'm just going to push it down a little bit to sort of re-gel the propolis. And now my bees have kind of come back. I'll give them a smoke again. And now we're going to bring this box back on. So, you notice I keep my hive tool in my hand at all times. You can't really be putting it down or putting it in your pocket. You need to get comfortable having it just sort of rest in your hand with a couple fingers. So you can kind of hold it like this when you don't need it. I don't have the best space, but what I'm going to do is try to keep my back straight, lift up this box. And I've got some bees along the edge on this side, so I'm just going to try to move them out of the way. And now same thing. I'm going to sort of tap the box until there's no bees in the way, and then set it down. That's it, we're almost done. I'm just going to throw the fondant back on. And then the last step is to put on the outer cover. And this hive is done.